Alrighty, we were drawing on this Glen. I think this is it's either part 16 or 17. I think it's part 17. In the last episode, I was kind of struggling, and I was working my butt off to make this piece in the back here, this window frame, and I actually got it fairly where I want it. The only problem that I foresee with it at the moment is that I think I'm going to have some trouble mating up these sides. And there's a couple different ways I can do this, but I think I've found a little bit simpler way I can draw this. And then one of the things I have, I guess I can't call it a problem, but a little bit of a problem with the way I think about this program. There's a lot of things where I can add in detail with the UV map. So sometimes I try to draw things too literally and make the shape too literally when I could actually just kind of make a general shape and paint in the pictures, or as long as we can get this window shape in here and how we want it. So I think I'm going to try. I have this saved as Glen 14A blend. I think I'm going to make this a B, and I'm going to try experiment, and basically worst to worst, if it don't work, I can always go back to A. But I'm going to go over to B here because I want to try something here. And what I want to try is actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to push Z. Why is this not working? Z. Oh, probably because it doesn't know that's selected. Let's see. No, it's selected as an object. Shouldn't matter. Oh, I'm pushing Shift. That's why. Huh. Thought I was pushing Z, but I was pushing Shift. Edit mode. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, and we're looking straight from the side, which is our number one on our numeral keypad, not our number one on top. And I want to box this, and I want to box this, and I want to box this, and I'm going to delete it. And that was actually quite a bit of work to delete, but like I said, I'm going to try an experiment here. And one thing I want to do, let's go back to the Z mode. I want to put these faces back in here. Need to go line mode. Select it, Shift, select. Select. Get the F and the A, and same thing on this other side. Shift, select. Shift select, face, A. Okay, now I don't know if you remember, I had put these bulkheads in here and I actually gave them a little. This one I haven't given any thickness to yet. I am going to make this one a little bit thicker. I'm actually going to put a little bit of thickness into it and make it like a bulkhead, kind of like I did this one in the front here. Okay, now what I was starting to get at, what I think I can do to make this shape, and then I'm also going to use this when I draw all of these middle canopies, is we're going to add, let's see, kind of tore between the cylinder. I think the torus is too complex. Thanks. We're going to bring in a cylinder. And tools. Now your cylinder, your standard, what I call blender cylinder, comes in with 32 verticals. I actually think I want to make that, I want to double that to 64. And the reason I want to do that, and I'll show you here pretty soon, is because when I cut this in half, I actually want, I think, 32 verticals from the bottom to the top of this. So I need to I need to grab this, the Z, bring it up. I need to rotate it. Rotate it on the y-axis, RY 90. Okay. And I need to scale it. And then what I need to do is go back to vertices. I need to hit Z. And I need to hit A. Okay. And here's our middle line. Need to hit Z here. Whoops, Z, not Z. I need to hit B. I want to box this under here. We're going to delete this. Delete. Okay, so that gives us a half. Gives us a half. If we actually come from the front, you can see how this is a half. And that might be too many, but I actually think with this shape being as complex as it is, I don't think it's actually going to be too much. Let's box this in. And let's grab it to the Z a little bit. Let's grab it to the X a little bit. Let's bring it back. As you can see, this kind of matches this window frame. I actually probably could have just grabbed the very back edge of this window frame here and used that, and then adjusted the height a little bit on it. But I wanted a couple more vertices. Of course, I could have thrown in some edge loops and stuff, but I think I can. We'll take this. Let's select A. And then let's box this in. And let's grab this to the X, and let's make this real thin. Let's make that about like that. If we actually zoom in, it looks bigger, but I kind of want this to be. Let's grab it to the X. I want to make this almost as thin as the window frames there. And then I want to select the whole thing again. Okay, we keep looking from 3. And this is kind of going to be the trick here, is to be grab it to the Z. What we're going to do here is we're going to basically match this window frame up here to start with. And I don't think I need my toolbox anymore here, so I can get into the nitty gritty. Let's grab it on the Z. Let's bring it up to where the dot matches the other dot here. And we're going to keep zooming in. Foofers, lay down. Okay, grab it to the Z. And right about there. Okay. Now part of the trick on this is what we need to do is it's not going to match that window exact. So actually when I do when I actually do make these canopy frames here, I'm probably going to go off this, or I'm going to actually take maybe even, as much as I hate to say it, I might end up deleting this front canopy that I did so well on, or putting some loop cuts in it. I might have to cut it in half, put some loop cuts in it to match up this other canopy line, and then I might have to modify. I'm either going to have to modify it, or I'm going to have to basically redraw the whole thing again, which is going to kind of be a pain in the butt. But either way, one of the good things is that sometimes it can be a learning process. You can learn, sometimes I do stuff and then I figure out easier ways to do it. And the good thing about the easier ways to do it is that I usually don't forget. Okay, let's select A. Now I think I can box this one and this one, and then I can grab them to the Z and I can bring them down. And actually, I could probably could actually I could probably actually drag them and match all of these vertices and then cut out the other ones, or on the flats just mix 2 or 3 in, because what I'm wanting and what I'm needing is, by the time we get back to this point, we drag this back, this is all going to mate up down here, so I can connect this, and I need it to have this window shape, and this window shape's actually a little bit wider and flatter because of the way the glass is just moves around further, as all the frame is just in a different place. The shape's kind of the same, but by the time this lays into the body, it actually flattens out quite a bit, which kind of amazes me. This airplane, you can't see it. Said I've looked at pictures of it, and I got a model of it. This is actually quite flat on the top, or it's not totally flat. It's still oval, but it's just not as sharp as you would think it would be. It looks from the top like it would be really tapered, but it's actually quite round on the top. Or like I said, kind of has a flat surface. It doesn't taper. I've seen a lot of airplanes that really taper up and kind of have a nice little curve at the top, but this one don't. So anyways, what I was starting to say is I could probably actually scale these to the Y. We'll try this. Scale these out to the Y. And pretty much this should do anything if we're just working with one side, as long as we remember to scale it and stuff and do it with both. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's grab the Z, let's bring it down. Okay, let's scale it to the Y. Bring it out here. Let's grab it to the Z. Okay, now I need to scale it to the Y, bring it in just a hair. Right about there. I need to grab it to the Z. GZ. Bring it down. And maybe scale it to the Y just a bump up too much. Right there. And grab it to the Z. See, and you can see I brought it too far, but if I keep bumping it around a little bit, it gets pretty dang close. That's close enough. By the time you zoom out, that's going to be fine. And that's pretty much like that on both sides. Now, another thing I have kind of learned that sometimes you're doing this and it actually will draw just a hair different, like on the left than it does the right. And it shouldn't, but it does. So one of the things I do to get around that is I will actually pick one side if the thing's totally symmetrical. Like this engine cowling's not. Like I said, we haven't hooked this engine cowling to the airplane body. But the airplane body so far, if you look at it straight up and down, it's got a center line. So it's a half and half. And I think I've drawn pretty good to where it's all matched up pretty good. But if I had one side, if I had a flaw on one side, or problems on one side, I could actually cut this in half, and then I can basically duplicate a mirror and reverse it, and then I can stitch it together, and they will be identical. And a lot of people actually just draw from the start that way. I probably should, but I don't. Okay, let's deselect. Let's grab these next two. We're actually grabbing two because we're grabbing those there, and we're grabbing these here. And if I hit 3 again, okay. So now what I want to do with these is I'm going to, and actually, since these next lines are way down here, what I actually need to do, or should be doing here, is grabbing the whole thing, besides the ones I've just altered. I should be grabbing this whole shoot and match for the moment. Okay, go back to 3. Because you can see we're going to move these dots that are barely sticking out of here, way out here to these other ones. So if we bring our cursor to like that, I hope you can see that little X. I think you can. When I had it in mouse mode, you couldn't see the mouse pointer, but you can see the little X, which is good. And I still haven't looked up the mod to show you the keystrokes, which actually is kind of a nice mod to have on here for tutorials, because that way if I forget to tell you which buttons I'm hitting, or if I get to thinking and I'll draw something and alter something and I forget to tell you like which buttons to hit, then you can actually just see and you can pause the thing, go back. Okay, so we're going to hit scale S to the Y, of course, and then I'm going to drag it. And you got these little grid lines too that can also help. I'm going to drag it right about there, which is almost straight up and down from that, and then we're going to push G and Z to grab on the Z axis. We're going to bring that down pretty close right about there, which that looks pretty good from that screen. And then we're going to zoom down to the microscopic nitty gritty and get them right on there. Hold on just a second. Okay. Let's grab this to the Z. Bring it back down. Now another trick I can kind of do, which I don't do a lot, but I can do, is like you can kind of guess it here. I kind of like to do it from the outside, but you can do it here too. Actually, that's going to be just a hair taller because that's so we grab to the Z, so you kind of guess where it's going to line up. Okay, let's scale it S to the Y, and it's still even taller. And that's as much as I can zoom in. We're going to grab it G to the Z, bring it down, and that looks pretty good. And then we are going to deselect, which is A. Okay, and we're going to box grab these, box grab this. And like I said, basically I'm just going to go down the starboard side of the craft here. Okay, now I can grab to the Z. Now this is going to start making this whole thing look a little bit funky here. Because this time I'm just grabbing these two. And like if you look at this thing, it starts looking like a big gull wing or something. But I'm grabbing these two. This is, think anybody that's worked with sheet metal or even paper models and stuff. But if you worked with sheet metal, you can think of this like that you're bending, like you're bending the sheet metal into shape. Okay, let's scale it to the Y. But you got to remember scale it because we're working with both sides here. And if you can see when I hit scale, you see the green line. We already know this is going to be like low. Okay, let's scale. Move this over here. Let's scale it to the Y some more. And see, now I can put this, if I got a line that's pretty much straight up and down below it. The nice thing about that is I can kind of use that. Okay, that's as microscopic as it's going to get. Let's grab it to the Z. And it is just a smidgen to the left, so we're going to move this here, scale it to the Y. If you notice, I move these out quite a bit so that I have, it gives me more control. If you actually try to do it from the other side, what it does is that if you move the mouse a little bit, it moves the dot a lot. But if you move the cursor further out away, it actually tends to work a lot better. Okay, let's hit the A. Let's box this. Let's box this one. Let's come in on the side, like I said, a little bit more. And another thing you can do too is like I can grab this edge, I can move it in quite a bit. I think there's a button to make that toolbar go away, just like I do with the tools over on the other side. There's a T, and then there's a third box here. There's quite a few boxes here where I think you have a hotkey to make it go. I need to look that up and figure out which one it is so that I can just hit that key and make that go away. It's not really a big problem. I work around it, but sometimes it's just nice to have almost like a whole screen to draw into. Okay, we're going to grab this to the Z. We're going to bring this down. And we can kind of see these grid lines. This is just under that grid line just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to scale it Y. We're going to bring it in. I actually went a tad too far, but I'm kind of close for, like I said, for this. So I can zoom in. And it's kind of funny how it's close. And when you zoom in, it seems like it's so far away, but it would be the same like if you started looking at something through a magnifying glass. Okay, let's scale this to the Y. Bring it right on that black line. That part of the black line. Okay, let's grab it to the Z. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up right there. And let's come in all the way. And I come in all the way, and it's looking good. And what you could do, too, is you can run to this other side right here. And you can zoom in, double check it, and it's pretty much the same place, like I said. So my drawing's got a little bit better because, like I said, I used to do things and I'd bump one little thing and we didn't know it, and then it was kind of a problem. Okay, let's save this right at the moment. And we had it saved on 14B, so yeah, we'll save it 14B still, because it's like our alternate saving. Now, one other thing, I had to reset my computer, which is kind of funny. And then I re-imported these pictures, but I didn't re-import my engine picture, and I also didn't re-import my. I had a picture of this plane that was like from the front, although it didn't really match up with this drawing here that great. Let's come to 3. If I come to object mode, actually I hit Z, and I come to object mode, and I hit A to deselect, and I click on this thing here, because what this was actually my picture of my engine, my empty, but since I had to reset the computer, it literally just, it remembers that it has an object in there, and it leaves the object in there, but your picture goes away, which is kind of stinky because then you got to re-import the stuff. So anyway, but I can delete this little object, that picture there. Now if I look from the front, I don't have those lines messing with me anymore. Now if I click this again, okay, go 3, and then I go back to edit mode, and then I can actually save it again, save as, and then, because if I don't resave it, then that picture frame will come back. Okay, let's hit Z. Let's box this one. This one, I'll get this frame attached. I'm trying to watch the clock a lot better so I don't end up... I try to keep these around a half an hour. I usually end up around 40 minutes, sometimes close to an hour, but I try not to let them ever go over an hour if possible. So I try to kind of get to the point and... See, let's grab it, Z. Try to get to the point and try to, you know, get the shape altered. Let's scale Y. Let's bring that over here. And I already know it's like way off, but that's okay. Oh, and you definitely, if you look up in the corner, it says right ortho. It means orthoscopic view. You definitely, when you're drawing like this, you want to be in orthoscopic view. Because if you're in perspective and then you line stuff up, it will mess things up really bad. Grab Z. Let's bring it down. Scale Y. Let's bring it over. Pretty close. I think we're here low though. And then let's zoom in on the nitty gritty here. Yep. Okay. That's as close as that's going to get. Let's grab it to the Z. Let's bring it up a little bit. Right about there. Let's come to this side. Let's scale it Y. Let's just bump it until basically that black line and that, you can see your orange line, that black line kind of like make each orange line makes the black line disappear. Let's deselect with A. Now as you notice, kind of got straight lines here, but I actually think, let's look from the side now. You still have this kind of, oh, I don't know, you gotta kind of have this funky thing where these lines are, oh, now that's also because we got that upset, so we'll finish it out before we look like that. And because we could always delete these ones off the end, we can always add loop cuts if we wanted. When I made this frame, I actually probably should have made it kind of like I'm doing now, and then scale twisted it or whatnot. There's, like I said, there's kind of little tricks, and I don't know them all. Some of them I've just kind of figured out just playing with this thing and guessing on it, and kind of come up with my own little ways of bending stuff. And then there's been some things I've drawn way the hard way. I was drawing some gun turret stuff for battleships, and I was drawing a whole bunch of stuff at angles. And then it kind of dawned on me, the more you can draw stuff straight up and down and horizontal and get it shaped and then angle it, it works way better than trying to draw it at angles, especially in 3D. Okay, let's grab this to the Z. Let's bring it down. Let's take and scale it to the Y. Another thing that you can do too is if you draw a couple objects like on this, if you actually pretty much know that this is supposed to be straight on something. The only problem is some things be straight, but then they curve or they bend around, so you end up wanting to have more vertices. But if you know that this frame, from this point to this point, this actually should be straight, and these aren't. And one of the things you can do is you can, like I could totally get rid of all these other vertices, and then I could take and I could run this back line down to meet the other part, and then what I'm getting at is that I could use that to line up to line up this canopy in the front where it's just bent, and it's microscopically bent. I mean, it's almost like I said, sometimes I get a little bit too precise, which I joke, in a way there's no such thing as too precise, but sometimes it's too precise if really close is good enough for the model or good enough to do what we're wanting to accomplish, especially to put this in a game or make an illustration or whatever. But if being so precise just sucks up so much time that it's like, because these things can get real time consuming. So sometimes you have to go, okay, it looks good. It looks good to the eye. It's really close. Let's just go with that. And then, we're not actually building a real airplane that somebody's going to be flying and that their life depends on it. So, but I used to work on airplanes that people really flew and their life really depended on it. So that's kind of why I get to kind of be a perfectionist in this perfectionist mode sometimes, trying to get things as close as possible and as accurate as possible. But like I said, you got to compromise, and that's why I like to learn tricks how to do something where, let's see, grab it to the Z, where you can do something and make it really accurate, but yet you can do it, somewhat in a timely manner. Scale to the Y. Now, see, all you have to do is accidentally be tired, and when you should scale it and say you grab it instead of scaling it, grab to the Z. And that's also where practice comes in too, because that's the kind of stuff I used to do. Is I accidentally grabbed it, and then since I grabbed it and dragged it to the left, and then I have that other side selected, I'm dragging it to the left, the wrong direction. So just like if you're playing a piano and you first start playing a piano and you just sound horrible playing a piano, and then later on you kind of figure out that you're kind of like, oh, well, wait a minute, like that's not you get better over time, Okay, now like I said, this is almost, the only thing that has me kind of cracking up is, like I said, this kind of spreads out in the back, but I think we can kind of trick that. Or, I think we can just scale trick that a little bit. And also, this canopy frame, I can put the windows in. I can actually I'm going to UV map these frames. So I don't really know if I have to totally perfectly draw the frames. Or like on the back part of the airplane, like I could have the frame modeled where the canopy's at, more or less, but where it comes to the back of the plane, and I'm not really sure if I really need to have that frame modeled there, because I can just actually kind of like UV draw that into the body. But I have seen some of the War Thunder models, and it seemed like they have all the canopy actually modeled as a piece. So I might go ahead and work that anyway. I just think doing it this way, I'm able to do it. I think I can do it more accurately than like this last mess where I had to sit there and keep twisting stuff. And you can see, like I said, it's still kind of microscopically messed up. Okay, let's grab this to the Z. Let's bring this down. And actually what I was talking about, like I'll show you, because I could actually loop cut stuff in here. So if I grab this to the Z some more, I actually bring this down here to right about there. Now, this is kind of confusing, but what I'm actually doing is I'm looking at the outer vertice dot on the canopy frame, and we're seeing the lines from the rocker arm bump that's on top of the engine cowl. So, oopsie, 3, not 1. I hit 1. Okay, so I'm wanting to, we're going to scale it to the Y so we can bring these two in together. And then we're going to actually, okay, let's grab it to the Z a little bit more. Like right about there. And then let's scale it to the Y just a tad. See, and this line isn't going to match, but we're going to kind of do something with that. Okay, let's grab this to the Z just a tad. Let's scale it to the Y from the outside here. Scale it to the Y. Bring it in. Right there. Let's grab this to the Z. We're just going to bump it. Like that, I think. See, I went too far. I'll go back up right there. Okay, now what I was saying is if you notice that these two canopy lines are way the heck off. So what I can do is push A. And what's cool about this is now I can use this as a reference line. So let's box this. And let's grab it. Oh, actually we could. But we can also just, like I almost forgot my rule there, we're going to grab this. We're going to grab this one, and then we're going to scale this. Scale this to the Y, and we're going to bring it in till it's right on that line. And we're not going to worry about the top as much as we are the bottom. Okay, we've got the bottom lined up. And it actually looks that way pretty good on the other side. Okay, so we're going to hit A. And we're going to grab the next one up, which is this one. This one. Okay. And we're going to scale this to the Y. We're going to bring that along that line till it kind of disappears there. And that side, both sides going to disappear because our vertices up there. And like I said, later we're going to have to actually draw some loop cuts. We're going to have to draw some loop cuts in this this puppy here. But if I look from the one now, the other thing you're going to notice a little bit about the one though is I matched this canopy frame that I'm making like more or less with the front window. Which is okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to move it along these things. Might actually just go ahead and draw these middle canopies in, but I'm not going to do that on this lesson. I'm going to finish up this little mating up part, and then I'm going to go into the next lesson where we're going to keep working along these canopies. We're going to get these canopies drawn, and we're going to draw in this little section where the back window is. And then from there, for a little bit, the body of the airplane isn't going to be that difficult. Seems like the glass and the canopy eyes are a big deal. Just like that fairing was kind of a big deal, but kind of actually proud. I think I did pretty good with that. Okay, so I got these lines matched up a little bit. I'm going to hit A. Now what I want to do a little bit here is I want to box this, and same thing on the other side here. I want to box this inner one. Then I'm going to scale that to the Y a little bit. I'm going to widen that just a little bit. I'm going to kind of mate that up a little bit. Let's hit Z. Let's look at it from an angle. See, and that still looks pretty good. Let's go to object mode. Object mode. That's still pretty much looking like it. It made it a little thicker actually, but it looks kind of somewhat uniform. Let's look at it from the side. Side saying it's okay. Front saying it's okay. Down from the top, it's looking okay. So that probably dressed that up a little bit. Okay, now let's go back to our 3. Let's go back to edit mode. Actually, let's go back to object mode. Let's save it right there. Save as. I'm going to still leave it as 14. 14B. Okay, now, what I want to do now is go back to edit mode right quick. Okay. Hit my Z. And I can actually do this real easy. I can box in these. Actually, I've got to box a little higher, otherwise I'm going to be grabbing these other dots that's in the body, and I don't want to do that. I want to box in this. And box in these. Okay, which is our little tails that are out here, okay? And let's go delete vertices. Okay, so now I have basically I made it up. It's mated up with the front of this window. The only thing where it's not mated up kind of a thing. If we go from the side, it doesn't go all the way down to the slide rail that I made here, but that's okay because we can fix that. We're gonna fix that in further lessons. We're gonna thicken. We're actually gonna make this. What I want to do now actually is I want to box this. Okay, and I want to go Shift D on the X. Oh, why is it doing that? Oh, I thought I wanted to delete it for some reason. I don't want to delete anything, so we want to try this again. Shift D. Must have hit Shift D. There we go. On the X. And that'll make us a duplicate, and then we're going to bring that up here. And we're going to put that puppy right there, because that's going to be the front part of this frame. And then we're going to modify it to make our window frame. And then now we're going to take this one here for the moment. And we're going to box it. See, and I could actually do it now, but I'm not going to. I could actually make, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 of those cross members, and then it's just a matter of you're basically making 3 in this one, 2 in the one, and you make it just to fit inside of that. And made it up on the plane because I think that one's actually solid. The very one by the window slides open for the pilot, and in real life that slides open for the pilot to go in. I think this next one's solid. It's basically bolted in here, and you got things in the cockpit underneath it. And then I think the one behind it, same way, it goes down. I'm not sure. Sometimes they had a double slide system, so they could actually kind of slide. The window's a little wider to get into stuff. And for sure, the next one in line definitely slides. I think those two slide. Because this guy's sitting back here too with the machine gun. So I'm not sure about those center ones too much. But I definitely think that second one back doesn't move. This very rear one with the window doesn't move either. So, okay, we're going to zoom in here a little bit. Getting at now, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this to the X. We're going to bring this back. Okay. And actually, I'm going to kind of like that. Okay, what I want to do is scale this to the X and just a little bit. Whoopsie. I need to widen it because this part of the frame that's going on the back part of the airplane's a little bit wider. Okay, let's grab it to the X. And looks like actually I got it shaded. It is, yeah, it's a little bit fat. Let's scale it on the X again. Skinny it up just a hair. Okay, let's grab it to the X. And we're a little bit out of our window shading, a little bit, not bad. Okay, so we can come down into the nitty gritty. Okay, let's grab this to the X. Let's bring this over a little bit to that dark line right about there. Okay, now we have it way high, just to start with. So, and what I was starting to say is actually, if we're looking at this from above, okay, so what we might need to do with this is actually just scale it. And bring it, scale it to where, if we look from the top, okay. So, 7 again, we're almost there. Because what we're wanting to do is scale this. We want to scale this until it mates up actually with that dot right there. We're almost to that dot, so let's scale it till it's right there. Okay. And then let's look at it from the 1. And it's, I was going to say it's too tall, but it isn't too tall anymore because it is, it might be still a little too tall, but it's still higher. So now what we want to do is we want to bring this, grab it to the Z and bring it down. As you'll notice, we're almost over that dot there. And it's a little bit closer. So as you see, this whole thing's going to stair step coming down, so that's not a problem. But if we mate the, if we have all of the surfaces more or less matched up, then it'll be feasible in a sense. If it was a real object in real life, it would you would be able to bring it into, okay, let's grab it to the X. And still come down to the nitty gritty. Oh, and I have these things joined. I don't know if you can see my mouse button. You can probably see that little X, but right underneath that X, there's these little things. They have 2 arrows and they're touching. And what it says is automatically merge vertices moved into the same location. And I actually don't, that can be advantageous for some things, and in other things I don't like it because it'll move your vertices. When it grabs them, it doesn't, it microscopically joins them at the center, and sometimes that actually shifts vertices. So if you actually take and turn that off, then it shouldn't do that. Because I was drawing on this Starship project I was drawing on, and it was doing that. Grab to the Z, let's bring this down. And let's line that dot there. Oh, no, I think it went ahead and joined them. So actually, that was off, and I turned it on. Because you see how the yellow line in the bottom, as soon as I had moved it there, it clicked them. It automatically joined them. Right, so I guess if that's on the gray, then it shouldn't be doing that. But it dang sure did snap them together. Okay, let's look at the 1. Now see, that's almost the height we need it. And one of the easiest things we can actually do is we'll deselect. We can actually just, the only problem is though, if we do what I'm wanting to do, I think it'll throw the shape off a hair. Because that's just still, it's too high. I would rather almost scale it, but now that it's connected. Okay, well I think we'll just do it anyway. What we'll do is we're going to box in these top ones here. We're going to grab them to the Z, and we're going to bring them down a little bit. Like right there. Okay. And we're going to look at that from the 3. And that threw our shape out just a hair, I think. So we're going to scale to the Y. And we're going to kind of eyeball it. And we're going to kind of quit. I bumped the right button. Okay, let's try that again. Let's scale it to the Y. And what I'm trying to do basically is kind of parallel the very outer line, window line, with this one. That's pretty close. I think that's close enough for now. When we start working this thing back, we'll see kind of. Okay, so now I think that's made our outer window frame kind of thing. And like I said, there's a couple of different things we can do now. I think we can take this, except for, like I said, the problem is this frame, especially this frame bend the bottom here since it curves up. So what I'm probably going to have to do to make that thing lay down the way I need it to lay down is I'm going to have to put all those lines back in. I got this thing flush though, but I'm going to have to loop cut this, and I'm going to have to add quite a few lines. And as many lines as I want to put. Let's see, we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 lines. And actually the top shaped fairly well, I think. But I still might even have to add some loop cuts up in there. Like I said, this is part where I'm thinking that maybe I can draw this simpler and drag it down, and just basically on this part of the airplane, I think I could UV map the frame in on this part of the plane and not worry about actually separating the frame part with the airplane, and then actually just cut out the window, the areas where the window's going to go, and where I cut the window out, then I can, because you actually UV map that in too, you actually kind of like UV in the glass. So, like I said, maybe I'm making this a little bit more difficult than I need to. So I'm going to try that first, and if it don't work, I can always come back and do the hard work over. So let's take this and let's see if I want to UV map it. And then I don't even need to leave that thickness in there. What I need to do is grab this, not even extrude it, grab it to the X, bring it back like this, right here. And okay, I need to scale this to the Z, so which will bring it like kind of like this, and then I need to grab it to the Z and bring it down. And I'll show you what I'm trying to do here. Not quite enough. What I'm wanting to do with I want to keep this bottom line straight. So I might have to do this a couple different times. I might have to scale it to the Z and actually scrunch it in a little bit, and then grab it to the Z and drag it down until I watch all of basically the little steps come out of that bottom line. You have to look all the way across it, like right there, like shouldn't be any steps in it. Now that looks pretty darn close right there. See, and I might even, looking at the shading, of course, like I said, I'm using these pictures as a guideline. So, in a technical sense, this model might be a few inches off this way and a few inches off that way, but of course this drawing is a few inches off this way and a few inches off that way. The problem with that, unless you're actually working with a blueprint that's actually taking you down to the very, very nitty-gritty, is that we're just kind of making an approximation of this airplane. You know, if you actually took my model and made it up to like a real if you had a real aircraft, and that probably wouldn't be perfect. You'd be maybe even up to 2 inches off or something. But the thing with that, like I said, we're making this model to play with in a game, and I'm almost guaranteeing you that if you took the models that are even in this game that Gaijin has made, they're probably pretty accurate, but I'm almost betting same thing. You got an artist doing 3D modeling, and unless they're doing it down to the millimeter off of some blueprints, and then even when they built real airplanes, they had variances. They had places where some might be a 30, give or take a 32nd of an inch, or a, like a centimeter or half a centimeter, which is pretty tight tolerance in some, depending on what you're talking about. But every single one of them airplanes was exactly the same size down to the millimeter. So what I'm getting at is this is good enough. There's an old joke they used to say in the Army and Navy about it's close enough for government work. And I remember some commanders getting pretty mad about that too. They used to hate that. Like, I don't want to hear that. That's just good enough for government work. Let's see this in. Okay, now what I want to do here is go Control 3. And then this is totally straight with the back. So what I want to do is go scale to the Y. And we're going to skinny this up, and that's going to give it a little bit of a. It's going to give us a little bit of a Y taper, and we actually need to come in and kind of guess. We're looking at the lines right below that. We need to kind of bring it in to the point of where we think it'll kind of made up there. And I'm going to just guess about there, I think. Okay, and now what I want to do now is go A, and I know this window part right here, we're going to box in this. We're going to box in these, and I'm betting I'm on 40 minutes on this video, if not close to an hour, so I need to wrap this up, and we'll do some more in the next one here. Okay, what I want to do now, again, I want to scale this to the Z, and I'm actually going to flatten this shape out a little bit, because this shape is almost flattened this way on the airplane when you get down to the back where the frame is. And then I'm going to scale it a little bit on the Y, and I'm going to bring it in just a little bit, and look at it from the side. Now since I scaled it on the Z, even though I flattened it out, what I need to do again is I need to box this. I need a Z, I need a Z, I need to box it. Then I need to grab it to the Z, bring it up because I flattened it out a little bit, and we're going to put it about there. Okay, we're going to hit Z, and I'm kind of happy with that. And if I'm not happy with it, actually, I got a little bit of shaping here to do, but I'll show you how we're going to do that. I think there's a little bit of funkiness in here that we have to either put a little corner in, or we're going to have to switch a couple angles on this little part of the back. But for the most part, that's pretty close to what it's supposed to be looking like. So, and like I said, I think we're going to cut out our windows. I actually know how to use a knife tool now. I did a little research and a little bit of YouTube instructions from somebody else that wasn't drawing airplanes, but I learning about how to use the cutting tool, which is going to shorten down a lot of things. Like I said, I think this trick's going to work. So I'm going to go to edit object mode, and I'll leave it yellow, and we're going to save it as 14B still. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.